Susan. Hey, Simon, I'm dying to go to... oh, we're on live!
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Hey, I'm dying to go to the toilet, but it doesn't matter now because...
well, straight away. We said we were only going to do half an hour, so if you can hold it in for that. Otherwise, us professionals have a bucket.
100%. What I'll do, Simon, is I'm going to plug in a better mic.
Cool.
Because I want you guys, I know how important brand is to you and quality, so...
Brand and quality. I think you've got the wrong podcast here, Tom.
I'm wrong.
The other guys.
An hour. This one's, oh, that's the other one.
There are other podcasts, we believe, but we don't like to talk about Andy Overman, Luke and Stephen, so...
The boys, yes. So yeah. Can I ask you, what time is it there?
7:30. So you've... it's fair to say me and David are out at night owls, and our 5 a.m. club is going to bed just before then. So you've done really well here. This is exceptional. But you're joining us late, I know, over there. So thank you very much, and everyone who's going to be following really appreciates it. So thanks once more. So
can I ask firstly to both of you, David and Simon? Can I ask, like, life is from a health perspective and from a commercial perspective, is life like it's okay?
Yeah, I think it's really, it's really picked up, no doubt about it. First couple of weeks, everyone was in the headlamps, and, there was a lot of people who just weren't getting through that until they had their own time to do it. There was a demographic who were, not willing to go down without a fight, and so they were always doing it. And then, to be honest, there was a smaller minority who saw this as an opportunity, either an opportunity to get stuff done, reimagine their businesses, or seize market share from agents that literally, Tom, I don't know whether it's the same over there, had seemingly shut up shop and weren't really doing anything for the public with existing or new clients. So we I've got the other website. It's been our busiest time of the year. So I think now the last few weeks, people are just getting on and really making the most out of it. As I said, as much as you can do from a terrible thing like a pandemic.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much covered, the behaviour and attitudes of most of the people in Australia and New Zealand that work in the real estate sector. It's been a little bit, for me, guys, it was a little bit like things were good here because we'd had a federal election and the market was booming and everyone was making money. And then around March 9, March 10, 11, it's like you're on a super freeway and you're driving along and life is good. And then all of a sudden you see, some roadworks ahead and it says slow down. And what's happened is you've slowed down all of a sudden, which was out of your control. But what happened, I noticed with a lot of real estate agents, is that they slowed down and they thought, okay, this is a permission for me not to do anything. I'm stopping my car. But in reality, a lot of the good real estate agents, the best ones, they sort of thought, okay, yes, I've slowed down, but I'm not going to go into a coma. And there is a heap of people in real estate in Australia and New Zealand that are basically treating this as if it's been an induced coma by the government and there's nothing that you can do about it, right? And I don't even know whether some of these people are going to ever wake up out of that coma, right? Yeah.
So Tom, I mean, talking about that, you've got some agents, particularly some that I've spoken to, where, let's face it, the market's not for everybody. I know for you guys over there, it's been a tough few years getting to where you are now, and we've got some agents who kind of, because the pause button has been hit, they lose momentum, but it's also given them time to think about where they are in their life and whether or not real estate is for them as a whole, or whether there's something else they can be doing. So very quickly, being in lockdown, with spending time with their families, having more time to think about things. And it's a bit of an echo chamber, to be honest, Tom, because you're not getting out and seeing people, so you're not really getting challenged by other opinions. There are a lot of people that are saying that they're not coming back to the industry once we reopen. There's a lot of recruitment experts that we've spoken to. They've heard from people that all of a sudden have been quite happy for many years in a particular role. They're now waking up and deciding that they want something else. What advice would you give to an agent that is perhaps teetering on that edge? They might not make it back. What can you say that would sort of reinvigorate them and get them back on track?
Well, the first thing is, I would say, David, is don't believe your own thinking when you're fearful or anxious. You shouldn't believe that thinking, because it's not logical thinking. It's thinking that is very emotion based. And a lot of the emotions that people have felt in the last couple of months are emotions that I would put in the negative basket. They catastrophize. So I would say number one is, don't believe everything you think if you're under panic, anxiety, in chaos. The second thing is, get practical about it. Listen, if real estate isn't for you, think about this. It's not the real estate sector that's only been impacted. I mean, they're not lining up 10 deep to give people jobs to work for British Airways anymore.
Yeah.
Chances, right? So it's not like you're going to have a heap of options. Hey, I'm not going to do, estate agency. I'm going to go off. Like, there's not going to be a million jobs in hospitality. There's not going to be a million jobs in tourism. And quite frankly, if you're in real estate, chances are that you haven't got yourself that equipped that you can be doing too many other things. And you definitely won't be putting on a jersey on for Tottenham when the EPL starts, because you're probably not a good football player. So you might have to make a decision that you're going to choose this time to say, hang on a second, how decent am I as an estate agent? Is the problem the profession, or is the problem me? Have I actually treated this as if this was me playing for Tottenham? Or have I treated this as if I was serious and I'd gone all out to become a pro? So part of it is to have a practical perspective and look in the mirror and say, have I given this enough? Have I given this everything I've got? If at the end of it, it is still overwhelming, I think what you've got to do is plan the escape. You don't just wake up and say, okay, here's my new career. You've got to plan the escape. But my personal view, and I'm one of the few people in real estate education in Australasia that has actually ran a real estate company and worked during recessionary periods that go back to the 80s. And all I can say to you is this: it is a golden opportunity. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it sounds like a cliche. You hear people say, oh, I built my business during the recession, this and that. But realistically, let's look at the practicality about why it is an opportunity. Because what you basically said, David, is what a lot of people, estate agents, are thinking. And that is, I might get out. Many of those do go out. That's a good thing, because when you look at the mathematics, which is number of agents per listings, all of a sudden the equation looks good, because you've got less competitors. Less competitors and more properties per estate agent means higher commissions. And that's a good thing as well. Yeah. Then you begin to look at, hey, more listings. Economic downtimes affect vendors, and whether they sell because financial reasons or divorces, because we clearly know in Wuhan, as a case study, the divorce rate, or people inquiring about having a separation, has gone up 35%, which essentially says, and it happens for the reasons that you said, David. People are at home. There was already a fracture in the relationship. And then you're spending 2 months with people, and then you begin to think, hey, is this the way I want to live my life? And I've got to tell you, for someone that's gone through illness, like one of the things in cancer, they give you social work and counseling, one of the things they touch on when you recover is marriage counseling. And the reason they give you marriage counseling is that cancer survivorship has a high divorce rate. And the reason is that when you recover, you reevaluate, is this how I want my life? So
all your decisions,
any major chaos is going to create people to actually reflect on their life on this planet.
So can I just ask you a question there, Tom? I mean, obviously you've talked about this before and it's fairly well documented. So when you originally got your first diagnosis, you had this moment where your life and your feelings about your life were in a very different place, and you come out of that illness and that recovery period, you sort of rebuilt yourself, not just physically, but in terms of your mindset, the way that you lived your life, in terms of your daily routine, your exercise, the whole thing. I mean, we've all watched that series Breaking Bad. He chose to do something far more criminal, but you chose to do something extremely good with your life at that moment. So talk to us about that.
And I can tell you, it happened. I still clearly remember this change happened pretty much in a 15-minute episode. It was in a. So I've had cancer 3 times. This happened in 2006. That's when I made my big shift the first time. So I was sitting at a chemo ward. I'd got off the phone and I'd had an argument with someone, and then I put the phone down. And I had another cancer patient next to me said, sounds like that was a shit phone call. And he said something along the lines, is business bad? And I looked at him and I said, no, everything's bad. And he goes, wow. And then for some reason on a piece of paper, David, I wrote out everything in my life that wasn't good. And I began to accept things aren't good. My health was shit. My finances were shit. My relationships were shit. There was pretty much a gloomy picture. And I still remember that day I walked out, went and bought an exercise book from a convenience store where the hospital was downstairs, walked into a cafe, and I pretty much wrote out a life philosophy plan. It was about getting my fitness right. It was actually getting the people around me. I decided to delete some people and increase the frequency of others. I then sat down and said to myself, what am I like in the current job I've got? I gave myself a 6 out of 10. And I said, this is what I'd look like as a 9 out of 10. And then what I did is I factored in that I was going to make an effort that every day I would do something that would drive me closer to it. And I did it for 30 days. Then at around day 45, by coincidence, I got good news that the cancer treatment had been working. And then all of a sudden, you have this momentum, good news, more momentum, and it's still a defining day. That phone call, sitting there where I dropped the bullshit, I let go of ego, I let go of excuses, and I accepted the truth. Things were fucked. And from there, I was able to move forward. And I've got to tell you, I haven't really gone back since then. That was 14 years ago. I mean, I have, when I say gone back, I have gone back there for treatment. I've been back there 2 times, you know, and hopefully never go back there again.
So Tom, you talk about, I've heard you use the phrase, and I'll probably misquote it because I've got a terrible memory, but you know, life sometimes gives you gifts badly wrapped. And that in particular, you know, for anyone going through this lockdown, and I mean just the lockdown without any of the illness, really needs to think about that kind of thing, isn't there? About what's important really, and that this is nothing in comparison. Being asked to stay inside is relatively easy, isn't it? And you've got to focus on the big things, what other people are going through there, and just get on with it.
So Simon, you've rephrased it pretty accurately, and that is some of the best gifts in life come badly wrapped. And let me give people a bit of like on the surface, there could be a girl or guy that watches this now or watches it on replay and says, you know what, that sounds really easier to say, but right now I'm sitting here, money's tough, I'm depressed because I'm inside. Actually, there's no gift here. Well, let me tell you a bit of a template that can help you shift your mind. You've got to forget about the event, COVID, and you've got to focus your response. You've got to forget about what's missing and focus on what's available. You've got to forget about what you've lost and you've got to focus on what's the opportunity. And all of a sudden, if you ask different questions, your mind will move to those answers. So part of it is hey, maybe the issue is that I've got to sit there and try and snap out of the way I'm looking at this. And it all starts with you forgetting about your difficulties and start focusing about your progress. But for anyone that's watching this in the UK right now, Simon, that's doing it hard, my biggest advice is narrow your focus. What I mean by that, don't think about the next 3 months, 6 months, or the future. Think about the next 8 hours. How do I make this Friday a cracker? How do I make this Friday a cracker? Because if you've got the ability to narrow your focus, it'll stop you from catastrophizing and estimating and forecasting a future which will relatively be wrong. And psychologists seem to say that for most people, they will forecast a future which is more pessimistic than realistic. So what do? Narrow the focus and say, what's a good day look like today? Simple. I'll walk outside, get a bit of fresh air. I'll hit the phones and I'll start ringing up people that I haven't spoke to for a long time and over communicate to the market. What's the next thing I can do? I'll go on to Udemy, do a course and learn a little bit about video and social marketing. And you know what happens? You have a good day, you have another good day, 2 days. You have another good day, before you know it, you've had a good week. And 80% of winning is just beginning. So I urge anyone watching this, just start. Don't worry about the 30th day. Worry about today. But anyway, guys, I hope that you're well. I hope that it's been useful for your audience. Stay healthy, Simon. It's good to see you. I promised Sanjay I want to be back there soon. I mean, I was scheduled. I was going to take probably 3 months in Europe after Sanj Fest. It was in my mind, but what will I do now instead? I don't know. Just hanging around.
As soon as you're over, we'll do Novichok again or somewhere else. We'll stay in touch. We'll love to catch up and stay safe. And we'll thanks very much for coming on today.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Guys.
Cheers.
See you later, David.
See you soon. Bye-bye.